You know, in nature, almost nothing is what it seems. What you're looking at right now is a master of deception. It's practicing one of evolution's most brilliant and most deadly innovations, camouflage. Today, we are going to pull back the curtain on this incredible world of hiding, trickery, and pure survival.
I mean, just think about that for a second. What if you, right now, had the power to just vanish, to blend into your surroundings so perfectly that you were just gone? Sounds like something straight out of a comic book, right? The superpower.
Well, for millions of species out there, this isn't some fantasy. It's the cold, hard reality of the difference between life and death. The ability to control what other creatures see, or more importantly, what they don't see, is absolutely everything.
See, the wild is locked in this perpetual arms race. On one side, you've got predators, and they're constantly evolving sharper and sharper senses to find their next meal. And on the other side, you've got the prey, developing ever more clever, more ingenious ways to hide. It's the ultimate high-stakes game of eat or be eaten.
So let's dive into the most classic strategy in the playbook. I mean, if you don't want to get eaten, what's the simplest solution? Well, you make darn sure that no one can even see you in the first place.
Now, this strategy has a fancy, scientific name, crypsis, but you can just think of it as the fine art of becoming one with your environment. And this is so much more than just matching a color. Oh no, it's about perfectly copying the texture, the pattern, and even the way the light hits you.
A perfect example? The stick insect. Its body doesn't just look like a twig. For all intents and purposes, it is a twig. The shape, the little bumpy texture, even the way it kind of sways like it's in a breeze that isn't there, it is an absolute masterpiece of deception.
Or how about the Arctic fox? This guy basically has two entire wardrobes for a reason. In the dead of winter, its pure white coat makes it a literal ghost against the snow. But then, as the snow starts to melt, it sheds that coat for a brown and gray one to blend right in with the summer tundra. That is seasonal adaptation at its absolute finest.
And then you get the true masters of disguise, like the leafy sea dragon. This creature doesn't just hide among the seaweed. Its body has evolved these unbelievable, delicate, leaf-like bits that let it just completely vanish into the kelp forests off the coast of Australia. It's wild. Okay, but what happens if just blending in isn't going to cut it? What if that's not an option? Well, that's when you move to level 2 of the survival game. You stop hiding and you start lying. You pretend to be something you're not.
And this is called mimicry. Seriously, just think of it as biological identity theft. It's this evolutionary con game where your survival completely depends on how convincingly you can impersonate something or someone else.
And this whole mimicry thing comes in two main flavors. First, you've got what's called Batesian mimicry. This is the ultimate bluff. Picture a totally harmless hoverfly that evolves the exact same stripes as a dangerous bee. It's an empty threat, sure, but it's a really effective one. And then there's Mullerian mimicry. This is where a bunch of actually dangerous species, like different kinds of wasps, all evolve the same warning pattern. In this case, everybody's telling the truth. It creates this powerful, shared signal that predators learn really, really fast to stay away from.
So, we've talked about blending in, and we've talked about pretending. But nature has another trick up its sleeve, and this one is even more mind-bending. What if the very best way to hide is to be completely and utterly obvious?
This is called disruptive coloration. You see, those high-contrast patterns like a zebra's stripes or a leopard's spots, they don't actually hide the animal at all. Instead, what they do is shatter its body outline. So for a lion that's staring at a whole herd of zebras, that mass of swirling stripes makes it almost impossible for its brain to figure out where one zebra ends and the next one begins. The whole herd just becomes one big confusing optical illusion. And hey, you can't hunt what you can't single out, right? But that brings up an even bigger question. Okay, zebras use patterns to confuse, I get that. But what about animals that seem to be actively advertising their presence with these bright, bold, in-your-face colors? Why in the world would you ever want to do that?
The answer is aposematism, or warning coloration, and this is the polar opposite of hiding. This is an animal screaming at the top of its lungs, "I am dangerous, I am poisonous, and trust me, eating me will be the last mistake you ever make." You know, think of the vibrant reds and yellows on a poison dart frog. That color isn't for hiding. It's a giant billboard that's advertising its own toxicity. It's an honest signal, and it's backed by a very deadly promise.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, it turns out these incredible survival strategies, they're not just for the animal kingdom. As a species, we humans are the ultimate mimics, and, well, we've been taking notes from nature for a very long time.
And you don't have to look any further than military camouflage. We started out with simple one-color background matching back in World War I. By the 1940s, we were borrowing the idea of disruptive patterns straight from leopards and zebras. Today, we've got digital camo that mimics the complex textures of nature, and researchers right now are working on adaptive camouflage that could change in real time, just like a chameleon.
But as we learn from these incredible adaptations, and as we mimic them, I think it's so important that we remember the context. These evolutionary marvels were forged over millions of years in this brutal game of survival, a game that over 1 million species are now on the verge of losing, and not because their camouflage failed them, but because the very environments they were designed to blend into are disappearing. You know, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many of these brilliant, stunning deceptions are unfolding right in front of our eyes, and we just don't even see them? As we look at the world around us, what other secrets are still out there, just